This video is brought to you by Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering awesome boxes of top-shelf goods from under-the-radar brands. Best of all, it's free to join. Each month, they curate cool new boxes with products including outdoor gear, home and kitchen goods, clothing, and much more. Each box has around $70 in retail value, but only cost $45. One of those amazing boxes is Weekender. This bag can carry enough for our weekend getaway with enough storage for even longer trips. The Weekender's stylish look turned out to be a perfect bag that helps keep up your professional appearance. Another great box is Flame, containing a personal indoor fireplace called Flicker. It runs on rubbing alcohol, which is clean burning and safe to cook over. Flicker brings the best part of the outdoors into your home, so get ready to make s'mores with this eye-catching statement piece. With Bespoke Post, it's all about discovering goods that you wouldn't have found elsewhere. You can preview each box before it's shipped and decide whether you'd like to keep it, swap it for a different box, or just skip it entirely for no charge. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and enter Simple History 20 at checkout to get 20% off your first box. Or just go to bspk.me/simplehistory20. An NVA soldier and his son hid in the jungle for 40 years. 1972 to 2013. The Vietnam War lasted for a total of 20 years, officially coming to an end in 1975. But for so many, the war continued for long after that, in the form of the severe trauma and horrific life-changing injuries that they had suffered in the conflict. Though incredibly for one man, his Vietnam War would continue for 40 years. In 2013, towards the north of the country, a shabby-looking middle-aged man in a loincloth emerged from the jungle. He was accompanied by a frail old man in ragged clothes. Both were severely malnourished with badly rotting teeth. The pair said that they were father and son who had been hiding in the jungle from the horrors of the Vietnam War for the last 4 decades, neither realizing that the war they had fled from finished just a couple of years after they had gone into the jungle to hide. The locals were stunned to find out that the elderly man was named Ho Van Ton, a North Vietnamese soldier who was presumed killed alongside his family after his home in Quang Ngai province took a direct hit during an American air raid back in 1972. In fact, during the air raid, Tan had managed to escape deep into the jungle with his 1-year-old son, Long. At this stage, it's thought that he was already mentally unbalanced, as he had a known history of suffering from mental health issues. He stayed hidden in the jungle, fearful of further American air attacks. In a way, he had every right to be scared, for throughout the course of the war, the United States would drop over 4.5 million tons of bombs in Vietnam, resulting in the deaths of between 50 and 150,000 North Vietnamese combatants and civilians. This staggering level of ordnance that greatly exceeded what the Americans had dropped during the whole of World War II was intended to cripple the NVA's ability to wage war, and was largely attributed to the infamous Operation Rolling Thunder and Operation Linebacker. For Tan and his young son, home became an incredibly small 7-square-foot wooden tree hut with a simple thatched roof. It was constructed nearly 20 feet up in a tall tree in a remote part of the jungle that resided at the foot of a secluded mountain. So for the next 40 years, they survived only on what food they could forage from the jungle, like wild berries and cassava, which is a vegetable that, if not prepared and cooked properly, is highly poisonous and toxic. For meat, they hunted small animals, mostly mice and rats. After a few years, they even started to grow their own crops on a small patch of land that they had cultivated next to their tree hut. Their only visitor during this time was a mysterious stranger who would visit them occasionally, bringing with him gifts such as salt, kerosene, and knives. In time, both Tan and his son came to trust this kind stranger. Nevertheless, despite his pleading, they refused to be coaxed back into society. The years of intense isolation had caused them both to develop severe mental issues, resulting in Tan and Long possessing a deep mistrust and irrational fear of the outside world. They were also convinced it was still an unsafe place where the horrors of the Vietnam War were ongoing. Over the years, some of the locals also tried to befriend them, but whenever they attempted to visit Tan and his son, they would hide until the strangers had left. A few more years went by before the mysterious traveler finally revealed that he was in fact Ho Van T, Tan's other son who he had presumed dead all those years ago in the American bombing raid on his village. T was eventually able to persuade both men, who were now in failing health, to return to their village and once again be part of the outside world. By now, Tan was in his early 80s and his son was in his 40s. Both men struggled to adapt to their new life, despite the Vietnamese government giving them preferential treatment, counting them as war veterans and generously providing them both with a new home and a military pension. The truth was, both men missed the solitude of the jungle and would visit it regularly. For the world that Tan had returned to had changed for him beyond recognition. Vietnam was no longer a divided country. Their one-time ally, the Soviet Union, was no more, and their feared enemy, the Americans, were now involved in a bloody war in the Middle East. For Tan's son, Long, it was even worse, for he had no formal education and could neither read nor write. He could also barely speak, knowing only how to say a few words of the regional core language, and as for women, they were a complete mystery to him, as he had never seen or met one. For Long, this new world was unbearably noisy and far too overcrowded. Unsurprisingly, he was completely overwhelmed and intimidated by technology, with everyday life largely revolving around the use of high-tech smartphones and the marvel that was the home computer, both of which Long was clueless about. He would eventually return to the jungle to run a small farm, living a simple life growing rice and sugarcane. It was claimed that Tan and Long's tree hut was burnt by relatives in order to stop it becoming a tourist attraction as news of the story spread. Tan eventually died of old age in 2017. As for Long, he never quite got over his father's death, and in September 2021, died of liver cancer. He was 52 and died without ever having married or bore children. Interestingly, the story has become distorted over the years by conflicting accounts, rumor, and sensationalism. Some accounts claim that Tan's family were actually the victims of a landmine rather than a U.S. bomb. Others claim that Tan was a member of the Viet Cong, not the NVA, and that he had fled into the jungle after strangling his wife due to having a mental breakdown, taking with him their baby son. Whatever the truth may be, the story of Tan and Long serves as a sobering reminder of the extreme lengths people will take to avoid the horrors of war and the prolonged impact it leaves on the lives of forgotten survivors.